Yo, what's going on, everybody? You checking it out. It's Spence from the Highly Advised Podcast. This is episode 88. I'm here with a couple good friends, a few good brothers. Myself, Spence, my man up to the right, as you can see, Lau, otherwise known as the Tribal Chief. And I got Hill Jackson, of course. Nobody else but relaxing, no G Jackson, otherwise known as Hill Jackson. You see the half RVD pose going on. So.
Come on, man. You already know. Come on, man. They already know. What's going on, y'all? Relaxing, no G _ Jackson, back with my brothers, my friends. Other than my blood brother, my friends here, you know what I mean? Shouts out to them. We have a good show on the way. Some nice things to talk about. Some not so things nice to talk about as well.
Of course, coming from you.
But, how are you doing, Lau?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing phenomenal. I'm doing amazing. And I'm doing awesome. It's your motherfucking boy, a.k.a. the Do-Rag King, a.k.a. the motherfucking Tribal Chief, a.k.a. everything under the sun, because there's only one, and that's me. I'm doing really blessed this morning. That's all I could say. God is the greatest. God is good. I'm here with my two amigos. Knew them for a long time, over a decade. So they know me and I know them real life. And we're here to give you some real life knowledge.
Now, I got a question since it's so early in the morning. Are y'all breakfast people?
Yes and no. You
like turkey? Turkey bacon?
Yes, I like turkey bacon. Man, come on, man. I don't fuck with no swine.
Okay, I didn't know. Some people like ham, you know what I mean?
Come on, man. No swine over here. No pork in the belly.
Hey, man, speak for yourself, man. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, pork, when it comes to pork bacon, is always going to be there, bro. God, I can live without ham. I can live without a couple things, but turkey bacon is good. Regular bacon is better. So,
I'm going to disagree on that. I like turkey bacon more than regular bacon, I think, man. I'm getting used to it.
You've been conditioned.
Maybe you're right, man. I've been on this little healthy kick. Like, it's supposed to be healthier for you, so I eat this shit all the time. You know what I mean?
Bro, listen, I done bust through a pack of turkey bacon before. I already know. But I'm just saying, it's like, I'm getting used to it. It's like, you don't get used to things that you like and love.
True. You just naturally love those things. So I'll give you that. That's fair. I'll give you that one.
It's like, I've been conditioned, brother. My conditioning has been conditioned to be conditioned. But
now, I know we all love to hear new music from The Alchemist and the Griselda group of people. And,
of course. You
know what I mean? It just so happens that Benny the Butcher put out the long-awaited Tana Talk 4.
TT4. Finally. Let me just jump in front of this by saying, as y'all all know, Benny the Butcher has put out plenty of projects since Tana Talk 3 and Tana Talk 4. I've always said, he can keep this, sweep this under the rug. It's not my favorite. I need Tana Talk 4. And he finally delivered. There's a lot that probably could be said about the album just in terms of opinion. But before I get into it, I listened to the album. It was pretty good of an album for the most part. So, any of your thoughts? What's your thoughts, Lau?
I enjoyed the album thoroughly. I already listened to it 3 times. Mm-hmm. The first listen, of course, you shouldn't. You can enjoy your first listen, but to say it's album of the year off your first listen is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Because you have to kind of digest the sound and then try to listen to the lyrics as much as possible to see what he's talking about. So after the third listen, I was very comfortable saying like, hey, this might be, as of right now, of course, because, we still got, several months of the year left. But as of right now, this might be my rap album of the year. Just right now. To me, it's 12 for 12. Now, are all 12 tracks equal or the same? No, I'm not going to say that. There's definitely some tracks better than the others. But I think that I could listen to this from track 1 to track 12 and enjoy it thoroughly. To me, it's an easy album to listen to. I think Benny's rapping got a lot better on this project too. I think he showed a more diverse kind of sound with certain tracks, and I like that. My only criticism of this is I hope the Def Jam debut album that he has, it shows a new sound. And the reason why I say that is I thoroughly enjoy The Alchemist, and I like his production. I think his production is A1. And I like the songs that Benny was on there. Like, for example, The Weeknd and Perry's and et cetera, Super Plug. Dope songs. The songs with Derringer. I liked them for the most part, but there were some times where I kind of like, I understand why somebody would be like, I don't like Derringer beats. Because it does have some of that. A lot of his beats, even though I think they're dope, but I can understand why somebody's like, there's not much going on with it. Even though, like I said, I liked every track, but I can understand some of the criticisms that I've seen online about some of the songs. But to me, I think I would give this album a 9 out of 10. I think it's really good, damn good. I would prefer if it was an all Alchemist produced project, but hey, it is what it is. I can't complain with what we got. I think Benny delivered on Tana Talk 4. I could break it down even further, but of course I want to hear Nigel's, and of course I want to hear your opinion too, Spence.
Well, I listened to the album a couple times over the weekend since it came out. I thoroughly enjoyed this album. I don't really have much bad things to say about it, mostly good things. I think Benny the Butcher's flow on certain songs definitely sticks out because of just the way he's flowing. I showed it to my coworkers not too long ago, and they said he sounds jazzy. Like, if you listen to Johnny P's Caddy, well, the reason I say that is because, like, you hear how J. Cole raps on that. He, like, rides the beat. It sounds a little smoother. But, like, Benny the Butcher's really chopping up his flow a lot on this album on different songs. And he'll, like, split up his sentences and, like, leave them incomplete to finishing them up later. So, like, to me, I like that a lot, and I like the way he actually hit it. And also then you have songs like That Was Revenge, where he's just, riding that beat, and, it's a more up-paced song for the album. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say. I thought the production was good. I like, the production and the rapping on here. I like the features on this album. I thought that was good. I mean, I would probably say off the top of my head, J. Cole had the best feature just because that's the one that sticks out the most. But, like, this album to me, I would say I'm going to give it a 5 because everything that I say is like, I'm kind of nitpicking it. Like, it's not because it's necessarily bad. It's just because it's things that I personally would change. But to me, that's not enough to, give it a point off for that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. To me personally, I put it like this. When it comes to overall Benny project, I think Benny was able to hit all of those boxes for the most part. To me personally, actually, before I say that, Lau, what was, I think it's Mike versus Ali. Was that produced? Tyson versus Ali. Was that produced by Derringer?
Yeah, that one was produced by Derringer.
Okay, I didn't really care for that. I didn't really care for that song.
Really, I like the song not because of the beat, and the beat is okay. It's not bad. I thought Conway and Benny's verses blended well with each other. Like, I like how Conway started off his verse and ended it. I thought it was dope. But if you're talking about like beat wise, that's why I said I can understand why people.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think you want to have certain beats where it's somewhat open for a rapper like Benny. That type of beat works a lot because you're more or less caring about what he's saying than what exactly you're hearing in terms of like the production always. But like, to me, that I didn't really care for that song for the most part. I did like his verses. I just didn't like the hook. And more often than not, we know if you don't really care for the hook, it's hard to kind of stay with the song all the time. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, for the most part, this album was, I wouldn't say necessarily perfect, but it was kind of what I expected. I do think in terms of like knowing this is like his last independent album, and now we're going into the next phase. Similar to what you said, Lau, I think now that I think this album is should be like kind of like the cap off of like, hey, this is the sound that we've gotten from Benny the Butcher. He's done this sound for so long, we love it, but we need to hear something else. Maybe not necessarily something that's like, I don't want to hear him over drill beats, right? Let's get that, let's confirm that. But like, I think we do want to see, I want to hear something where he's branching his sound out a little bit more. And I mean, granted, we've heard it. I know he did do a feature probably like a couple months ago, I believe, where he's rapping over a beat like that. And he sounds good, but I don't know. I think that's the next question in terms of like sound wise from Benny. Outside of that, I think the one thing I am appreciative of as a fan is a lot of times we all, as Griselda fans, we all know the whole inner workings of Conway, Westside, and Benny. And there's always we hear not Westside, but we always hear Conway talk about, yeah, it's West's thing, but I did the construction. Like, I built this. If it wasn't for me, a lot of this Griselda thing wouldn't be where it is, possibly. And it's nice to at least hear where, okay, Benny's the one clearing the air of saying like, yo, listen, you guys make all these comparisons between us two, but we still cheer for each other at the end of the day. So I think I was very appreciative of that, and I think it was even on the same song possibly. Or
on Tyson versus Ali.
Yeah,
he said y'all comparing us, and it's funny to me because he's on the side, cheering for me essentially.
Yeah, exactly, and that's probably one of the things where it's the context of the song. It's where where a beat like that, where you're able to get that context of the song. It's just like I think for a song like that, I just wish they had chose a better hook just to make the song better, I think.
Fair enough. I can understand why you didn't like the repetitive, redundant
Tyson versus Ali.
Yeah, I can understand. That's what I was saying, man. Like, I understand why some people will criticize something. What was your rating for the album, Spence?
I think if I was going out of a 5, I would say probably 4 out of 5.
Okay.
For me, like I said, I think for the most part, he covered the bases of what I expect from a Benny the Butcher album. I think at this point, I just want to hear something more from him, as well as just more or less, if anything, I hate to say it, but I honestly think I probably would have preferred if it was just all produced by Alchemist. So,
well, I was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You're saying the same thing.
I can't get mad at it.
This might be the first podcast where me and Spencer agreed on music. This is crazy. But
let's go to fingers crossed. Let's fingers crossed for Durk next.
I mean, we're definitely about to get to Lil Durk next. I just had two more questions about this album for you guys.
What's up?
One, what was the song that you liked the most out the project? And two, where would you rank this out of Benny's catalog? Out of the catalog that, at least that we know of. I'm not talking about like his very early stuff, like, My First Brick, and I'm not talking about that.
I'm talking about crazy name. It's a crazy name to call a mixtape. Definitely when you're in the streets for real at the time.
I'll talk about like from Tana Talk 3 till now, like, So those are my two questions. My favorite song off the project, by the way, is Weekend in Paris. But all right, that's it.
Since you already said that, I'm gonna say 10 More Crack Commandments is probably one of my favorite songs. I also like the song. Nah, it's either that or Back because I like Stove God Cook's verse because he was like, I ain't bring a chip home, I brought a brick home.
Yeah.
That shit had me dying.
I'm not mad at that. Like, Stove God Cooks, I'm hoping we see more from him also this year too.
Yeah.
I think him and Westside are already working on the album.
Oh, that's perfect then. That's perfect.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, for me it would be 10 More Commandments. I think as a fan, a hip hop fan overall, anybody that's ever done like their own version of the Crack Commandments, 10 Crack Commandments have always been it's always been interesting, whether it's Vado doing the 10 style, I think it's 10 Fleet Commandments, or even this one. So I think to me that was probably my favorite one. Based off his projects though, I would say this might be like maybe 4, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe 4. I may have Tana Talk 3. I forget what the album was. I forget the name of the album. Burden of Proof for myself, and I think Plugs I Met 2 was really good. So, and then it would have to be Tana Talk 4.
What about you, Nigel?
I don't know, man, because to me, Burden of Proof, like when I think of production and where Benny could go to for like a different type of sound, he would go to Burden of Proof too. You know what I mean? Back to Hit Boy, and they could cook up something else. But I mean, to me, that's at like the top, the tippy top. And like as far as where this album goes, I would say like it's not above. I don't know, man. Like it's towards the top, but it's not at the top with that. It's like there's a couple albums that come before that.
Yeah, it's definitely not like it's not one of those ones where you're like, oh, this is number one. Or like number two. It's not a definitive. It's not one of those definitive albums, right. Or at least personally. So
fair enough. Well, so I guess it's Spence already kind of like mentioned it. I guess let's just
he was excited.
Fuck it. Let's just get into it. So there was another big album, listeners, that came out alongside Tana Talk 4. This album is probably, I'm not going to say probably, this album was the more popular release of the weekend. Granted, the fact that it's already been projected to sell over 130,000, according to sources on social media. So the album I'm talking about, listeners, is Lil Durk's latest album called 7220 or 7220 or
7220.
See, there we go.
Thank you.
The Durk fan had to correct me.
Hey, y'all said y'all listened to the album, right?
So you know
we did.
He literally says it in the first 5 minutes of the album, the first 2 minutes of the album.
No, but I'm just saying. Looking at surface level, the correct term to say is 7,220, right?
But nobody says that for an address though. No one ever says y'all live at 7,220.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but you'd be surprised. Believe it or not. But I'm just going to get my opinion out the way of the album because okay. I'm going to be really honest with you, right? When I heard Lil Durk and Gucci on Rumors, which is a Gucci song, I was thinking like, okay, this is the Durk that we're going to get on this album because I like Durk's verse on that song, right? So I'll listen to the fucking album. First song, him auto-tune. I'm like, all right, whatever. It's just the intro song. Get to the second song. And I'm like, all right. And we get to Aha. This is the big, he's fucking tearing up NBA Youngboy with the song. I listen to it. I'm like, all right, this song is cool. I get to the next song. All right, back on auto-tune. I get to the fifth song. Yeah. So this is what we're getting. Right?
What else would you expect? What else would you expect if the majority of their go ahead.
I know, because I know you're about to preach a sermon and give a lecture. This is his greatest album. Let me just say my shit. All right.
Go ahead, get your shit off. Go ahead, get your opinion off, man.
So we get to the song with Future, and I'm like, all right. I don't mind this song because I feel like this is a song that would be on the radio or whatever. But if I'm going to judge this whole body, if this album as a whole perfect body or whatever the fuck, how you want to say it, I didn't like it. And it's not that I was trying to hit on it. I tried to give it a real serious chance. I went up to the point where, what's that song? What Happened with Virgil? With him and Gunna on there. Mm. And I'm just kind of like, here's the problem I have with Durk. When he'll drop these random singles that won't make the album and he's rapping. And I'm like, this is why everybody rocks with him. Then he comes out with these projects where there's like 2 or 3, maybe at the max, maybe like 4 songs when he's like rapping. And then the other 14 tracks is hardcore auto-tune, guitar, piano. And I'm just like, Jesus, bro, like, why? Right? And maybe it's just me because I knew about Lil Durk rapping before Lil Durk started doing the auto-tune shit of today. And maybe that's just me, but I'm just like, I can't enjoy that. I'm just curious. Did you guys like that last song with the country singer on there? The country auto-tune song?
No, I deleted that song.
That's the shit I'm talking about.
Come on, yo. Are you serious? All right, let's call a spade on that. If we're gonna use that song as a point of reference in the conversation, let's also call a spade on that one. That's a song. That's a song with a country singer, right?
But
so that
why?
bro. Let's be honest.
But why?
Why? How many artists do we know that sell over 100,000 copies a week now? Right.
Gunna beat The Weeknd. But I don't hear you singing praises for Gunna.
Yeah, I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. Okay,
I just
Gunna.
answered it.
All right, Gunna.
Beat The Weeknd. Beat The Weeknd.
Okay, I don't care about that. I don't. Are they in the same genre?
Lil Baby.
Lil Baby. Okay,
that's another one.
Okay, Lil Baby. Who else? Who else cracks over 100,000? You're going with a trend here. Go ahead.
I gave you two.
Lil Baby, right? Lil Baby, someone that comes to mind, right?
Okay, Thug.
Okay, so
Future, Drake.
These sound like what? Does this sound like the same tier of a rapper that sells 40,000 copies? I'm asking you a question. Yes or no?
I mean, yeah, I guess technically speaking, yeah, right? Because what? Listen.
They sound like they're rappers that sell. You saying they sound like the rappers are in the. They can sound like rappers are in the tier of people that sell 40,000.
No, what? I'm not understanding what you're saying with that. I'm gonna give you another artist that helps your point though. NBA YoungBoy, he didn't do 100,000 a week, but he's vastly popular.
Yeah, he's vastly popular via YouTube. His label says they bring in $17 million a year via his YouTube. That's great. That's great.
All I'm saying is, I just gave you 4 examples of guys who sold over 100,000.
Yes,
and I gave you an example of a guy that I know you probably don't fuck with because of your alignment with the artist you're a fan of.
I hear you, man. The guy has a classic project, though. What do you mean?
All I'm saying,
NBA YoungBoy. He has a classic mixtape.
All right. All I'm gonna say is this. I don't hate Durk, right? That's why. No, for real. No.
Yeah, you said no, because you skated. Well, can I finish my point?
Okay. What's your point? What's your point?
My point is this, right? When you're using that type of song as a point of reference, and then we're also seeing that he's selling a high number. Therefore, he's in a certain tier of artists. It makes sense for him to do a song that's a crossover song that's at the end of the album, which we typically know is this is like a bonus song. This is a song that came out first, crossover joint, and that's it. We never saw anything or heard anything else from it.
If I'm going to be real about the Morgan Wallen song, I think the idea is genius. I'm not.
No. Yeah, it's a. But here,
hold on. It's his highest selling song. You know what I mean?
Right, but
I'll get more into it. You good?
But what I'm trying to say before I close my piece out is this: when you put that song out there, we understand it's a marketing strategy. It's going to get him the money. When I heard that song and I looked it up to see if the guy was actually a country singer, I was like, oh, this is a money making move. Right. So on the forms of, if you talk about a business point of view, it is a genius idea. You can't hate it. You know what I mean? A guy from the trenches is doing a song with a country star. Like, that's fucking crazy. It's like Lil Nas X all over again. But I'm not comparing Durk to Nas X. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, that crossover appeal. Right? But now but we're talking about from a quality music standpoint. Spence already said it. This is the first negative thing I've heard him say about Durk at all. I deleted that song. He said that shit so fast.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, this song, exactly. Like, even though you put it on the album to make money, which is not wrong with that, because at the end of the day, it's like prize fighting. You gotta get your money. Right. But if we're gonna critique the album for what it is, that song is part of the album. It sucks, and that doesn't help the album become better than what you would like it to be for all the Lil Durk fans. So I'm not saying this is the worst album I've ever heard. I see some nasty comments about this album. I'm not going to be one of those people, but this album is not my cup of tea. I was expecting a more rapping Durk, but I was surprised with more autotune. That's it. That's my piece. I'm going to shut the fuck up.
I feel like this album, actually, I enjoyed this album more than The Voice. Actually, I'm not going to lie to you. To me, I didn't necessarily mind it. The first time I listened to it, I hated it. I'm not gonna lie. But then I was just like, let me actually try to be like, less put my own projections on it, and like let me actually try to listen to it again.
Be actually open to listening to the music.
Right. Open-minded. So I'm gonna tell you where to start and where to stop. Go to Aha, stop with the song with Future, listen to Piss Me Off, and turn that shit off. That's all you really gotta hear. To me personally, my problem with Durk is this. It's because he makes so many songs that sound the way they do. He has a little formula where it's like, you're either gonna have some guitars or pianos, he's gonna have some auto-tune, and he's gonna talk about something that's sad. And that's fair and that's cool. That works for him. You can say that about a lot of rappers, but here goes the problem with Lil Durk. His formula on multiple songs for an album that's like 45 minutes long, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, how many times am I really going to hear this song? Because they start to sound similar. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Like, I'm not going to say they sound exactly the same, but they sound very similar. We just talked about Tana Talk 4. You can't tell me that Thowie's Revenge sounds like Johnny P's Caddy. Those songs sound totally different. You know what I mean? This is not the same for this album, and that's my real issue with it. I don't think every song on here is necessarily bad. I think Lil Durk actually did better rapping on here than I usually hear him do. I don't even think some of the auto-tune songs are all that bad. My problem is that it gets repetitive. Very much so. And because of that, I can't really suggest it to anybody else, but I'm not going to shit on it either.
Right. I mean, I see it like this, right? I mean, that's your opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just see it like this. That's the as someone that's listened to his music and not just picking up the music to listen to critique. Like, I look like that's a fair point. In all seriousness, like when I listening to his music and saying, okay, I understand his body of work from at least Sorry for the Wait too. And that, to me personally, I don't think he's put out a project that's been better than that since then, which was like 2 or 3 years ago. But at the same time, my thing is this: his genre of music, the genre of music that his fans and his audience consider it, is called pain music.
Right.
So to me, my thing is he delivers. Yeah, that's that sound where you're like, oh, he's crying and all that type of stuff on the songs. Even when he talked about it in his $1 Million Worth of Game interview, right? His thing was, yo, I sit up and talk to my friends for 2-3 hours and they tell me about the shit that goes on in their lives. I turn around and make it a song, right? Reflecting those conversations. That's the type of genre of music that he makes, where it's called pain music. It's literally called pain music. His fans call it that. He
referred to it in his album as that.
Yeah, and that's been referred to as that sound, because don't get me wrong, No Auto Durk is like one of the things that fans love from him. I wish he rapped more on his albums. I wish it was more rapping than just what he does in auto-tune. But at the same time, I'm a fan of what he does auto-tune wise. Certain songs where, like the song with him and Future, I didn't care for Durk's verse. Only part I liked on that was Future's part. There's a couple songs on there I don't like, and they're skips, which I won't turn around and say it's a bad album because of it, because justifiably, if I was listening to J. Cole or any other rapper or Big Sean or whoever, I know for a fact they don't have those artists don't always put out albums that are 100% front to back. So like when I listen through those ears, it's a good album to me. I think Durk still hits on the things he always hits on. To me, when I listen to this, it tells me where he is in his career. I've so long said, yo, he has to hit 100,000 before I put him in that tier of the Lil Babies, the Future. Well, not even Future. Future is a legacy act, but like in the tier of like Lil Baby. He's cracked that with this number, but to me, listening to the sound, where you're hearing the guitars and the pianos and so on and so forth, when you looking at like his live performances, he brings a live band on some of his shows, right? So when okay, hey, me listening to this, I listen the same way with Kanye. When I listen to Kanye, some people don't like some of Kanye's newer music, but I tell people it's made to be played in a stadium. It's not made to listen to just some music's not made to just listen in a car. Some music is, you can hear how loud it is. And even for me with Durk's album, okay, this sounds like, oh, it's a lot of guitars. Sometimes I don't care for it all, but it's like, oh, well, I know when you go on tour, you're bringing this out in real life. So I understand, okay, you want this to sound, you want the song here to sound as real as it's going to sound when you go in your shows. So that's why, to me, like, I'm not mad at this. Like, this album to me reflects all the things that we've been seeing via social media when we watch Durk's performances and we see these crowds that are completely sold out, which are huge. And to me, I think it's cap. At first, I thought it was cap. You hearing this sound and you're putting that sound along with that image together, it's like, okay, as a music lover, I understand what this is personally. Like,
my thing is that I feel like when you say that, and if his music is made for stadiums and whatnot, that doesn't make me necessarily want to go back and listen to his album because I'm listening to it in my car. You know what I mean?
And that's totally understandable.
So like for me, like I don't hate this album. I don't necessarily like it either, though, because of everything that we've said. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unfortunate that he doesn't rap more because he actually, is a decent rapper.
That's my always been my biggest criticism with Durk. Like, I know the dude can, he can rap. And when I say he can rap, the guy knows how to put together some bars, and the guy he got a good cadence, and and when he does rap, he be rapping on some hard beats.
Right.
But my issue is just like he just went left field, and I get it. Him going left field made him the most amount of money he's ever made in his life, and he's one of the hottest acts in the rap game, and I get that. But as if we're gonna talk about like the quality of his music and stuff like that, if you just want to talk about him rapping, no, his rapping has went down, right? Because he doesn't put out enough rap shit outside of one or two fucking songs. But if you want to talk about him as an artist, him doing other shit like the auto-tune, the singing, and him with the live band and all that, that's fair, and I'm not mad at anybody that likes that. And I think that's the biggest disconnect with me is I'm not listening to Durk for that. There's other artists I'd rather listen to for that actually is submerged in that type of sound. What Durk, I've first heard him as a rapper. His first couple of projects was him as a rapper before he got signed. Then after he got signed, you know what I mean? Like I'm looking at Durk from a different perspective. Just like I said earlier, just as what Nigel was saying, I don't hate this album as the internet hates it, but it's not my cup of tea of an album neither. And so I'm not trying to trash on this album, whatever, like that, because I know you liked the Spence, and you explained why you liked it and shit like that, and that's fair. I have nothing against that. But if I'm ever going to get in a conversation with somebody who's a hardcore Durk fan, I'm gonna just let them know like why I just don't like this shit.
Right, and trust me, that's totally understandable, bro. Like I totally get it. To me, and when you're saying, as you're saying, it makes me think of like the conversation, which I totally doubt the last person you would think of is Drake, right? Okay. That's what this reminds me of, because of a lot of times we remember in Drake's career and I'm not saying personally, I don't think he's at that level yet. And if he can get to that level, it's still a lot of work that still needs to be done to get to that stage. But nonetheless, like even with Drake, right? There would be moments where Drake would put out albums, and his album would be, we all know, okay, Drake is going to sing on most of this album, or a lot of people, even when we were coming up being fans of him, older people were like, oh, all he does is sing. But then you see, oh, Drake, he does his features, he's rapping. He puts out maybe a Lucy here and there, he's rapping. But then when it's like, it's a time and a location, let me put this freestyle out. But then when it's time for the album, oh, it's 60%, 70%, 80%, 90% singing to what we would consider. So to me, I totally understand it. It's totally understandable. Like, I think when certain artists get to a certain space, or they're trying, like you said, this sound has given him the most money he's ever got. He put out a tweet that said his label gave him $40 million. So like, I totally understand. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think,
right.
I think the way, unfortunately, I think the unfortunate way where you can only probably accept Durk more in terms of rapping would actually be like his O Block, or not. I think it's the O Block tapes or whatever he puts out. Like they put out a tape last year where it's just him and all of the guys or whatever. They rap and it's good, but it's not what you're gonna get on an album nonetheless. But I totally understand that. I totally understand if you don't care for, if it's not your taste, your cup of tea. I totally get that.
Fair enough.
Now, was there anything else we got to listen to, over the weekend? I know King Von put out an album recently, but I didn't get a chance to listen to it.
I listened to some of that. I listened to some of it, but not the whole thing. Who else put out something? We had Benny. Dave East dropped something as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I seen that. He did drop something too.
Shouts out to Keith, man.
Yeah. I tried to get Keith on here, but he couldn't come out today. But hopefully maybe he can, if he gets a chance to listen to this, hopefully he can add something to this conversation, though.
Keith is listening to the Davey shit. That's his boy, man. Come on.
Oh, of course. Come on. Of course.
Shouts out to the young legend Keith. The songs that besides what we just talked about, what we spent about 20 minutes talking about. No, I'm not talking about
this conversation to go longer too.
Nah.
I'm talking about Benny and Durk. I'm not talking about just Durk. Yeah. I know Spence don't fuck with this guy, but ASAP Ant, he just dropped a new single. And Larry June and Jay Worthy, they dropped a new single as well.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I have to check that one out then.
Yeah.
Does that have Griselda ties? I know they're working with Westside Gunn on some new shit.
I don't know if that song is part of the new Griselda project that they're doing. I don't know. But when you hear it, I wouldn't be surprised if it makes a project. When you hear the beat.
Did you guys get a chance to listen to the Game interview at all?
I watched a little bit of it. I saw a couple clips of it. I watched probably not clips. I saw about the first 45 minutes of it. How about what did y'all think about this? What did y'all think about this? I didn't watch the thing in total. How about yourselves?
Well, I didn't watch. Oh, my bad. I thought you was gonna. Go ahead, Nigel. My bad.
You're good. I mean, I listened to it a little bit, and the Game was actually getting into some stuff. He was talking about how he kind of messed up his career. How he messed up the whole G-Unit thing. He said he messed it up, and it was his fault. And it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to hear him say that after all this time. I know you listened to the Joe Budden podcast, Spence, and he was talking about how he thought that Game was going to come out and be a little bit more vulnerable in this interview. And I thought that he was kind of right about it. The Game was actually saying, like, just kind of reflecting on his career, and I thought that was cool. We should give it a listen.
Yeah, I mean, like, from what I heard, like, you could tell. To me, I felt like Game was being reflective somewhat, but like, I think the thing when it comes to Game, unfortunately, is like there's always a stigma around him where a lot of people think like, okay, this guy is either he's lying or he's fabricating some story or elongating the truth or however you want to define it. But yeah, I mean, to me, I don't think it was bad. I think the game he gave us, I'll put it like this. The one thing, and this is just me personally from a fan's perspective, I've never always been the biggest fan of, don't get me wrong, I think the Game is a phenomenal rapper. I think when it comes to talented rappers, I think he should be someone that should be remembered. He deserves to be remembered in rap history, right, for his lyricism and so on and so forth. My whole thing is like he has a whole gimmick to himself. I'm not really sure where this Drillmatic, like I'm looking now to see if the Drillmatic is produced by Hit Boy. But I don't know. I think that's just my only concern when it comes to Game. But it's good to see that he's still rapping. Of course, we do know. Oh, it's executive produced by Hit Boy, I believe.
Okay.
Which should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna tune into the album.
Now, one thing the Game was saying during the interview, if I'm not mistaken, was that he could win in a versus with Eminem, and I feel like this is actually an interesting discussion.
Yes. I was just gonna say I think it's debatable, right? Yes. If you think about the versus crowd and the people that tune into the versus, not all of I feel like that crowd is more like geared towards like the hits and to the more common known songs, right? And when he was saying that, I know people are already like, scoffed at it. Oh, there he go again, But I was like, if you really think about it, the Game versus Eminem on a versus battle, honestly, man, that's a debatable battle. Because I don't know too many brothers and sisters that's quick to be jamming Eminem in a club. And I'm not saying that Eminem might not have something you might enjoy listening to in the club. For me, no. But for other people, I don't know. But I know Game has a couple songs where people are going to rock with in the club. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Game saying what he's saying is not necessarily far-fetched when it comes to versus battle. Now, when it comes to him being the better artist than Eminem, I feel like now that's kind of like subjective. Exactly.
I feel like this is actually kind of interesting because like I can name off the top of my head 5 songs that probably would get a win for a Game in this battle of like, let's say 20 songs or whatever. And I'm honestly not trying to hear like Cleaning Out My Closet like against some of the Game songs. Like that's just what it is. Some of Eminem's biggest songs, they're going to lose in this battle just because like they're just not as good sounding songs as some of the Games that he's put out. Some of his top hits. You know what I mean? Game might have 5 wins off the bat.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if we're just talking their own personal catalog, I can see how Game could win this. Definitely knowing like Game he's over the 20 years that he's been, practically 20 years he's been rapping, or since he's been out, or a little less than 20 years, he's been putting out albums consistently over these 2 decades, right? So he has the catalog and some hits that can back it up. But I will say this, if we're talking like also where your pen went to,
right,
he might have a hard time messing with Eminem. And I only say that because I mean, let's call a spade, right? I think, and if the fan base, it depends on the age of the fan base, right? If the fan base is like our age and maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, those people are going to remember some of this stuff that Eminem probably had something to do with when it came to working with Dr. Dre. So, and then also a lot of features that he had when he was hot. From like, I mean, let's be honest, he can play the song with him and Jay-Z. Like, he can play Renegade, and I don't care what Game plays. He can play One Blood. I'm giving that to Renegade.
But does he have 5 of those off the bat in your head?
I can think of 3, not 5 off the top. But we're talking 20 songs though, and this is Eminem. Like,
right. Renegade, but you got Forever, and I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head.
I'm just thinking of songs. When you look at the versus environment, right? They're mainly, people are playing like the radio hits, the hits that's going to be played in the clubs or at parties. They're not playing songs that are like, yo, this is a really good song, but these are not songs that you're going to dance to, right? When I hear like Benny the Butcher songs, right, I'm not dancing to his music. His music is not dancing music. That's how I view versus battles. They're battles where, hey, these songs were hits, and we could dance to them. That's why you see people in the crowd fucking dancing and shit. Now, so when you see the Game versus Eminem, I don't know if Eminem has music that's going to get the crowd moving in that type of environment.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I think in that type of environment, if we're going strictly off of that, yeah. Right. But my thing is, when it does come to verses, it's still, even though it's ideally a lot of times when it's hits being played is because you're going against somebody else. It's like, if I tell you, you got to bring your best 20, and I bring my best 20, which means your most popular, essentially, not your best. Like, your most popular and my most popular, more often than not, you're going to have those. At that point, you're playing the dance type of songs, right? But the thing is, when it comes to Eminem, because we hear how he's very disconnected from, like, the rest of like the world. He lives in his own bubble, long story short, with no slight to him. I think someone like this, they're going to have to get someone like people that are more in the know say, okay, this is how you need to set it up. And I think in Eminem's case, he'll have to probably play songs that are popular, but it might have to be more on the hip hop side. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the Game has a good chance of winning, but I don't know. It's Eminem, bro. Like we never know what happens until you press play. When you put these two people in the same environment, that's when we find out who it is. But at the same time,
I'm just saying, are you gonna be like, which one are you gonna rock to? Ali Boumaier or
on,
I'm not afraid.
You know?
Exactly.
It's a very clear choice.
I'm just saying.
Shit, yeah.
That Eminem
bring
song
versus
that was one of the biggest Eminem songs.
Yeah.
But now you see what I'm saying. Exactly.
How about that? Okay, you got that. How about this though? I'll tell you this. How about we do how about they do the verses at MTV? Do the verses at MTV. He's winning. He's winning that.
Man.
No, that's not. No, because that's kind of like.
Yo,
and I'm not saying
you're bringing the TRL group all the way back.
Nah,
that's like
the
pushing
same.
the goalposts though. To favor Eminem.
Hey,
versus
man,
it's not all MTV.
Bro. Let's be honest. Let's also be honest with ourselves here, right? And I hate to say it this way, unfortunately, if this type of verses happen. And this is being from a realistic standpoint. Like I agree, talent wise, the game probably is going to win. Definitely when you use something like "I'm not afraid" and "Ali Boomba." Like
the crazy matchup, man.
Yeah. Like that's horrible.
But that's one of Eminem's most popular songs. That's what I'm saying.
But the thing is, right? In these verses, these are being held. These are no longer. It's no longer like at a. Like you're at your house, I'm at my house, and we're streaming this. It's like, oh, they go to venues, and the sad part is, those venues people pay to get in, right. And unfortunately, Eminem has a way bigger fan base that's going to pay to get in there and fill those seats. Which
you're right, but I'm just saying
it's an unfortunate bias.
Let's be real though about Eminem though. He's gonna lose to a lot of motherfuckers. He is.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot. Like, you know what I mean? And that's not because he's a worse rapper. That's not because his career isn't better. That's not because he hasn't had more sales. It's just because of his music. Straight up. Shit, if you put Immortal Technique in there, how many people is he really going to beat?
Exactly.
But you know what I mean?
Who would you put against Immortal Technique?
I don't even know. I can't even think of a good matchup for that.
Tech 9.
No. I have no interest in that.
I'm just saying that'd be a matchup for her. Immortal Technique versus Tech 9.
Yo, actually, viewers, if you're familiar with who Immortal Technique is, please leave a comment telling us who do you think would be his best matchup. Please. I think that would be very interesting, though. But nonetheless, back to what we were discussing with the whole.
I just think like. If you're talking about like a GOAT list, yeah, Eminem is going to be in the GOAT list, right? Somewhere in there. If you want to put Game on there, hey man, pat yourself on the back. But when we're just talking about fucking verses, I just think it's a different environment. We're not talking, and I just think it's not far-fetched for the Game to say that he would win. It's not far-fetched, right? We're not talking about the Game versus Future, even though the Game is a better rapper, but I think Future has the bigger hits that people are going to enjoy more. We're not talking about the Game versus fucking Drake. We're not talking about the Game versus Kanye. We're talking about Game and Eminem. Eminem might have had the bigger songs on the radio, but for the versus environment, I don't think what Game is saying is wrong. I just gave you guys an example that you guys are like, and you guys didn't need to say I was right. I could tell with your reaction. So that's all.
That sounds crazy, man.
It's a wild matchup, man.
If someone played that, I would just walk out at that point.
Just turn that shit off, man.
It's like, no, I would just walk out. Like if that was like the first two songs, I would just be like, all right, I already know how the rest of this night's gonna go. We can leave now. We can watch this on Instagram. But finish your point line, my bad.
No, I mean, I pretty much said what I needed to say, man. But I mean, that's it. To Spencer's point, if you do bring in the Eminem crowd, of course they're gonna be cheering for the man. But the eye test, or I guess in this case the ear test, will tell you who's gonna win.
I mean, you're right about that. I mean, And on top of it, the thing that can benefit the game, what I will give him is that I know that since he's dropping Dramatic, he could probably have Kanye come out and do that song that they did dissing Kanye. I'm not sure how true it is, but they're saying Pete Davidson actually finds that claymation video Kanye made funny. And someone responded to the tweet saying, well, Pete Davidson also makes jokes about his father passing away. And
yeah, 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like with someone like that, you can't really, it's hard to really get what Kanye's trying to do is really, it's hard to phase somebody like that.
I think, that sounds like a nice sentiment that he could take it on the chin like that, but I try not to believe things that celebrities say unless it comes from said celebrity. That's all.
And even then, it's a camera in front of him. So
Right. Exactly. So it's like even that isn't enough proof to say how he really truly feels about it. I mean, like, shit, DL Hughley's talking about the situation with Kanye West, and like, it's one of those things where it's like, we all know what the situation is. Like, I don't think any of us are necessarily going out rooting for what Kanye West is doing right now. But that being said, like, what else is Pete Davidson supposed to say about the situation other than hold his head up?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you got something to say, Lau. The floor is yours.
Since we're on the topic of Kanye and DL Hughley, right? Or we're getting to it, whatever the fuck. We started it now.
Right.
I want to come out here and say, I don't like how Kanye is handling his shit on social media. I don't agree with it. But what I will say in defense of Kanye, what he's saying is not entirely wrong. It's just how he's going about it, which is the way he's going about it makes him look like it gives him the target on his back. But if you take away your bias and you stop being emotionally invested, like a lot of losers on social media are, you'll see like, what he's saying is not wrong and it's not crazy. He's just, the way he's just going about it is just not helping his case. And that's all. Cause like, I'm looking at the shit in social media. I'm like, and you go on these fucking blogs or whatever pages, they're painting Kanye out to be like a crazy bad guy. And I'm like, he's not. I mean, yeah, the way, if for example, me and Spence get in an argument and I'm like, yo, fuck you little bitch ass, whatever, right? on the surface level, it might be like, oh, him and Spence, they at each other's throats. Let me count down until somebody pulls out, a little firecracker. And, yeah, exactly. But if you really look behind the lens, you'll see like they're just boys. They always debate. And, they always go at each other. They don't no harm, no foul type of shit. But with the Kanye shit, everybody's just looking at the like, oh, he's crazy. He's off his medication. Kanye just needs to shut the fuck up. Without either for their support of Kim or their hate of Kanye, without looking at like what he's really saying. And that's my thing. So like when DL Hughley came out and said what he said on that Vlad TV interview, whatever the fuck, I was kind of like, look, DL, you have the right to your opinion. It's not your place to say anything about it. It's not your business, bro. Like, now that we see that Kanye is coming at DL Hughley, making posts and shit like that, and I'm kind of like, can he be mad at him? Because DL, he started talking about a situation that's not his situation to talk of. You know what I mean? So like, for Kanye responding, now it's all what did they say? All love, fair, and warfare, whatever the fuck.
All fair, love, and war.
There we go. DL started talking the shit. So now Kanye is responding, and I'm not mad at it. So that's just my take on it. I hope this shit boils over because it's crazy. This has been like the biggest story of fucking 2022 so far when it comes to celebrities.
It's crazy to me because like I said, I don't think anybody's necessarily cheering what Kanye West is doing, but I don't have children. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it's like to say, hey, I want my children to do this, that, and the third on social media and what they should or should not be doing. But Kanye has the right to say that, you know what I mean? Because they're his fucking kids. You know what I mean? Now, to get on to DL Hughley coming out of nowhere and saying what he said about Kanye, what do you expect Kanye to do? You know what I mean? And plus, that's fucking Kanye. He's going to say something. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I personally don't think that he's right, for like, doing all the shit, the video, blah, blah, blah. And I'm speaking about Kanye. But that being said, though, you have to, at the least, try to understand where he's coming from in the situation. You know what I mean? Also, you got to also understand where Kim is coming from in the situation as well, because she doesn't want all the shit online. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure she doesn't. I'm sure she doesn't want this type of attention. And, you know, I understand that they put a lot of their stuff out for the people to see, but this obviously isn't cool. You know what I mean? But if some random dude comes out of nowhere and says something about my situation, like, hey, we're not cool, we don't hang out, and you coming out and saying, like, if I wasn't famous, I'm not going to get any pussy, yeah, I'm going to say some shit to you. You know what I mean? Because where did that come from? You know what I mean? So, like, that's my thought.
I mean,
and that's crazy for DL to say that. That's kind of like, it's one thing if you were asked the question and you shared your opinion on it, but if you're coming out and say like, oh, he's not going to get no cat because, I mean, if he wasn't famous, he wasn't getting no cat. I'm like, now you assaulting the man. Now you attacking the man. Like, and that's crazy.
And I agree. I do agree to that point where I'll put it like this, how 50 Cent explained it best, right? When we saw the whole situation with Wayne and Baby, and they asked him a question on it, he said, I have no opinion on it. Know why? Because they're family at the end of the day. And they'll reconcile this. So, and when whoever stands on whatever side of the fence, once they reconcile and they're by each other's side, they still get to see who is on the opposite side of the fence, right? Which, when I look at a situation like this, it's the same sense, right? Where I think granted, we all know D.L. Hugley is a very opinionated person. Anybody that's watched any interview with him, he has no problem giving his opinion on whatever happens in the world, whether it's Kanye, whether it's Kim Kardashian, whether it's Justin Bieber, whoever, right? He has no problem giving his take on anything that happens in society. And I think sometimes being a comedian, you feel the need of like, hey, I can say whatever I want. And we've seen what's happened to some recent comics in their podcast conversations. You have to be able to know when to not say something or when to just be like, yo, listen, that's a personal situation and I leave it alone. Do I agree with the way Kanye's handling this whole situation with him and his wife? Similar to y'all, no. I think when it's something, similar to people that you see on Facebook. This is no different than seeing someone on Facebook. Someone gets in a breakup and they go on Facebook and take it to Facebook. Right. The same thing I would say when I see it there, I would say in this situation, leave it all for the internet. Boom. Like, you leave something like that all for the internet. If you need someone else to speak, if there needs to be a third party to be able to be a communicator for you too, fine. Go sit down, get a counselor, whatever needs to be done, whatever next step needs to be taken, take it. But at the same time, I don't think the way Kanye is approaching the situation is necessarily the correct way. But anytime, I think at the same time, when I don't have a child, so I can't speak from a parent's point of view. But I would assume I have a niece or a nephew, right? I don't have any say in what they do in terms of like themselves, because that's their parents. That's their parents' job to raise them. Right. But at the same time, if I saw my niece or someone post, or my nephew post something that was way too crazy and maybe their mother or their father didn't catch it, I'm probably gonna be like, yo, you shouldn't be posting this. I'm not gonna go on social media and be like, hey, you need to take this picture down right now. That's just weird, or making post of it. But I don't know. This is just an unfortunate situation. I do see this thing escalating between Kanye and D.L. Hugley, unfortunately. Kanye definitely said, oh, D.L. Hugley lives in Calabasas. This is great. God is good. This was a tweet that he put. Like, not a tweet. This was like something he posted on Instagram. Like,
some wild shit.
Yeah, man. Like, shit. Yeah, like I think anytime something's, I feel as though anytime something's happening between a relationship to someone in public, it's better just to stay out of it, because like Lau said, you just add yourself to a situation for no reason, essentially. Like both of you said, like,
he interjected himself in a conversation that nobody was including him in the first place. You know what I mean? So it's like,
granted, Vlad asked him the question, right? But at the same time, as an adult, we all have the right to make we choose what we say based off the question.
Exactly.
We know what we're saying. Yeah, I was about to say he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? He's not an idiot. You know?
Exactly. You would hope he's not an idiot.
Exactly. Well, to be around this long, you gotta have some smarts about you. But
that's what I'm saying. You would hope he's not an idiot, man.
Yeah.
Leading from that situation to another one, Ryan Coogler was profiled at a bank, held at gunpoint by a couple cops, and pretty much the situation goes like this. Ryan Coogler, the current director of Black Panther 2, that's coming out later on this year supposedly, walked into a bank, had a hat on, sunglasses, and a mask. He had a piece of paper, his ID, and a debit card. He gave his ID, the piece of paper, and put his debit card into the machine. Apparently, the piece of paper said that he needed $1,500 from the bank, and the bank teller was trying to ask him as to what he needed, and he said, "Read the note." The bank teller asked him again. He said, "Read the note." Bank teller felt uncomfortable by this, went to the back, made a phone call to the cops. They said, "Hey, did he do anything crazy?" She said, "No, I just feel a bit uncomfortable because he's not saying anything." So over a period of time, cops come to Ryan Coogler. They say, "Hey, come outside." They pull out the guns. He's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, relax." He walks them out. The bank teller says, "Thank you, officer." He goes out and explains, "Hey, look, I'm just trying to pull out the money and y'all pulled out the Glocks. So why did you guys do that? I don't understand." And honestly, if I was him, I'd be very upset because I would feel like, hey, I wasn't the aggressor in the situation. And so for some reason, the situation was escalated to the next level and I did nothing to cause that.
Lawsuit.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a lawsuit. And actually, I did verify the number. It was $12,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was trying to take out. So like, I think when it's even that, I mean, we all know, like, when you try to go to a bank, if you try to take out anything more than $10,000, it's typically like there's a procedure that they have to go through sometimes. Well, depending on the bank you're going to. But nonetheless, right? If I'm taking out $12,000, I don't verbally want to I don't want to be vocal and telling, "Hey, I want to take out $12,000 today."
Exactly. Like, unless you're a pompous asshole, like.
And the times we live in right now with everything that's going on, a lot of people don't have the luxury to just take out $1,200 out of their account, unfortunately.
Let alone $12,000.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, hey, I just need to get the money and go about my business. And like, I mean, I do believe this is reason for a lawsuit, but I think this also addresses another issue to some extent that needs to be. It's a conversation that needs to be had, just in terms of like, someone shouldn't. Why do you feel uncomfortable with me taking out the money that I need to take out? Because it's not because it's if you feel uncomfortable, you should just call. If you feel that uncomfortable, bring a manager. Boom. Or bring someone else that you report to. You shouldn't go and call the police immediately. It's like Ryan Coogler said it himself. Like, from the video I see, like, hey, it's pretty much he was being profiled because she didn't believe he should be taking that type of money out, essentially.
Now, do you think it has anything to do with the mask, the sunglasses, and the hat? Maybe she thought that he was actually trying to, do something.
See, in COVID, it's hard to say that because in COVID, right now, everybody wears a mask.
Exactly.
And now, granted, we are now going through a time where people are becoming much more lenient on that rule of wearing a mask. But at the same time, for my own safety, I have the right to wear a mask in any facility, indoor, outdoor, and nobody can say I'm wrong for that. And I shouldn't look suspicious. Now, if this was 3 years ago and he did that, it looks somewhat suspicious because you're the only person walking into a bank with a mask on saying, "I need $12,000.
Exactly.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah, but it's like, hey, everybody in here has a mask on, and it's a huge sum of money. $12,000 cash is a large sum of money to walk around with at any given point for the modern American that lives in this country. So like, to me, that would just, if that would be your excuse, it's just an excuse. Like, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be something needs to be something needs to happen, and there needs to be additional actions after the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. My support goes to Ryan Coogler on this situation. That's very unfortunate, and just pretty much what you guys are saying. Like, hey, if I'm pulling out 12 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, I don't want to broadcast it. I don't want people to know I'm pulling that much money. I want to get my money, get the fuck out, and go where I need to go. That's it. So I think it was unfortunate. It's like she went straight to the most extreme point.
Right.
Instead of going to her supervisor or her manager saying like, hey, here's the situation. I have a little concern. Can you assist me? What do you think I should do? Type shit. Instead of like, hey, I'm going to the back, 911. There's a fucking man here trying to rob the bank.
On top of that, like pulling out your guns, like that's not what you should do either. You know what I mean? Especially when the person isn't showing themselves to be a threat.
Yeah, not being hostile.
Right.
Right. Like, yeah. I mean, it's all like this whole thing is kind of messy, to be honest with you, man. And definitely, I'm just surprised this happened. Definitely with it being in Atlanta, where it's like this happened in Atlanta. So like, which to me is a place where you see plenty of people that are extremely young that make money doing something, whether it's some entrepreneurial venture or something in entertainment or whatnot in that city. So it's I don't know. I feel like there's a lot that needs to be addressed with this.
Now, moving on from these world events, we're moving into the world of sports. We had some movement going on in the MMA community. You know, as you know, Conor McGregor has been seen boxing, coming back into form after breaking his leg. And a lot of people are saying that now is the perfect time for Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor. How do you guys feel about this?
I feel like it's just a fight. I feel like it's just a fight for Jorge to try to get his probably would be his very last payday at this point. It'd probably be his very last payday. And in terms of Conor, I think a lot of fans have felt like definitely after the freak leg break, like, hey, the MMA guys have said like it's over. The run is coming towards an end. So I think this would be nothing more than a big payday, Jorge's last big payday of his career, as well as probably one of Conor's not his last, but one of his few that paydays he has left in the bank at the UFC. And to be honest with you, I don't know. I wouldn't be excited. I'll be excited to watch the fight just because of how they would build the fight up, to be honest with you. That's really it.
Yeah, I actually agree with Spence on this one, to the T. Like, I will watch it just to see the build up and, of course, see the result, see how it goes down. But this fight is obviously not important for either welterweight or lightweight. So it's just a fun fight. And if you're into watching fights for fun fights, this might be the fight for you. And there's not a problem watching a fight like this. But this fight, at the end of the day, doesn't mean anything to MMA outside of pay-per-views and money.
My problem with Conor McGregor right now is that he keeps on saying, like, I can't wait to get back to my next fight, a title fight. And it's like, come on, man. Like, you got to fucking relax. You do. Like, honestly, I wouldn't care if Conor McGregor goes on a fun fight tour. Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz, maybe throw a couple other names in there. I don't know. But, like, at the moment right now, Conor McGregor is, like, coming off of, I think, two losses? Yeah, 2 losses and one in between by Donald Cerrone. You know what I mean? Like, and it's between his last loss, I should say. It gets to the point where it's like, how many times are we really going to keep on forcing him into the title picture? It gets to be annoying. People don't believe in Conor McGregor. The MMA community doesn't believe in him. I think if he takes another loss, then people as a whole won't believe in him. So I feel like it's really getting to the point where they're like trying to bleed him for every ounce of a dollar they can get. Yeah,
he doesn't deserve a title shot in either lightweight or welterweight. Even though he's the pay-per-view king, he doesn't, that doesn't mean automatically he gets a title shot because he's fucking, the guy he's been KO'd in his last 2 fights. Yeah, he beat Donald Cerrone. Okay. Before that, Habib, put him through the ringer. So it's just kind of like the dude has not proven himself to get a title shot. Now, putting him at big money main events, absolutely. It is what it is. That's fine. But he shouldn't be in fights that's going to, oh, well, it's going to be a title fight. No, it should be either like BMF fights or fucking, you know, super fights. It should never be no title fight for Conor. If they put Conor up against Islam Makhachev, I wouldn't be upset at it because I'm like, well, it's not a title fight.
He's gonna beat his ass.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Islam will fold him up. I think he'll beat him worse than Habib beat him. Yep. But I think that fight I wouldn't be mad at. It is what it is. Islam wins, you know, whatever. But Conor versus Oliveira should never happen. Conor versus Usman should never happen. I know why both of the champions are going to take it, because they're like, hey, it's an easy payday. I'm getting million plus just to, you know, ring this guy out, you know, wash his ass out in the first round. So like, I'm not mad at Conor versus Masvidal. I'm really not. But Conor versus any champion, I'm kind of like, come on, UFC.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, I think the UFC has some understanding at this point, man, where they know they have a clear understanding. Like, hey, this guy is in agreement. They're in agreement with you, right? Where this guy doesn't deserve another title fight at this point. Like you said, prize fighting is his best bet. You fight a couple fights, going. To be honest with you, definitely after that freak leg break, do like you said, just do a fun fight tour. Maybe hop in the ring, do another boxing match if you wanted to. Get a bag and go about your go on your way. But at the same time, the question becomes, you have to win. And if you can't win, I don't care how much you talk. The thing that made Floyd so great was the fact that he talked a lot, but he didn't lose.
Right.
So
back it up.
Yeah, exactly. If you can talk all day, but if you're not winning, it means nothing. It does, and especially when we're talking fighting. So, and to be honest with you, even if you were to fight someone like Jorge Masvidal, I think that fight would be more beneficial to Masvidal than it would to be to Conor. Just because if he were to beat Conor, and let's say he starched them, right? It would be like, okay, Jorge Masvidal somehow now has his bell has rang again, and he probably won't fight for a title shot, but he'll be able to be in the UFC a little bit longer.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think Jorge Masvidal cares if he wins or loses this fight.
Of course, it's a payday.
He wants to get paid. Because if he cared, he wouldn't have took that fight against Colby, because everybody knew that he was going to get beat by Colby. Everyone. Probably even him.
Well, that's I don't think he did, but I think he knew the significance of that fight. That's why he canceled his fight with Leon Edwards. After Colby lost to Usman, he was like, yo, cancel your fight and fight me at the top of next year. And Jorge probably said, hey, this guy's not giving me the money. Leon's not going to give me the money that Colby's going to give me.
I mean, Jorge was smart in taking the Colby fight, like Spence said, because like, hey, I'm going to lose to both guys. Why not lose to the guy that's going to get me paid more?
Nah, it's true. Yeah, it makes it. I mean, financially, especially let's call a spade a spade. Unless you get to a certain status within fighting, unfortunately, like especially like UFC, a lot of those fighters aren't getting paid. Like some fighters are just now starting to make $1 million a fight, right? And they're at a champion level. So to not be a champion, in the league, and you're able to get a big ticket fight, it makes sense. So for Jorge, I think at this point, Jorge's like he's probably thinking, hey, I need to worry about my future at this point more of.
Yeah. He for that spanking that he just received, he got $1.3 million just to show up. We're not including pay-per-view or whatever sponsorships or under the table money. We don't know. Just off a surface level where he just got for the contract, $1.3 million. Guy is nowhere near a title shot. So nowhere near on a losing streak. You got paid that much money. So of course, anybody in their right mind will take the Colby fight. Hey man, this is going to get me paid. Leon, I'm going to get beat up to a pulp and not get paid nothing. So
it's better to just take one fight over the next while you still got some leverage, especially. So
exactly.
So when we're talking about wins and losses, moving on from that, wow, there's been a lot of movement with your team. NFL free agency has been going on, and Lau, you received Carson Wentz for a number of draft picks. How do you feel about that?
Well, so yeah, basically. All right, so here's the pro and here's the con. The con is we got Carson Wentz. It is what it is. The pro is we didn't spend too much to get him. I think it was just 2 second-rounders and a third-rounder.
That's not that bad.
That's not exactly.
That's not that. It's not that bad.
It's not bad. I mean, we still have to pay him his $28 million that's due plus. Well, I mean, it's not. Well, I mean, that's not. You guys are saying sheesh or whatever, but if you think about it, quarterbacks are not cheap to begin with. He's a starting quarterback, so that to me, I'm not looking at that as a crazy thing. But all I'm saying is just like those are the pros and cons. Like we got him for a bargain because if we got Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jesus Christ, and I see somewhere that we're trying to politic our way to get Mahomes, which I knew that was unicorn. Yeah. So
no way.
But if those 4 quarterbacks were available for us, we're trading first picks and players out of our team that helps us win out the yin yang for those quarterbacks. So getting Carson Wentz, who's not good, I'm going to go on record and say he's not good. But we didn't spend anything crazy to get him. It's like, look. Yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, we didn't destroy our future for him neither.
Now, would you have rather taken Colin Kaepernick? Because I'm sure you've seen the video of him trying to come back. He says he's in his best shape of his life.
Go to the XFL, man. When The Rock launches that, go to the XFL. You could be a star quarterback there. And if you're serious enough, maybe the NFL will look at you. Here's what I think about Carson Wentz. I know he's a big controversial
thing.
Cap? Yeah, Cap.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, you go.
To the listeners and to all the viewers that will see this on YouTube, I don't care what side of the fence you sit on. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't give a shit. What can be said is I don't think the guy is serious about playing football, man. I just don't.
I agree 100%.
I just don't. And I look at it as like he cannot be a starting quarterback. If he comes back to the league, somebody accepts him, whatever, he can't be a starting quarterback. He got to earn his way to that. That's why I said maybe he should just go to the XFL when he has a higher chance and percentage to be a starting quarterback and to see where his skill sets lies at. Him coming back to the NFL, and I'm not talking about his controversies, but as a player, I wouldn't want to touch him because I'm like, bro, before you left, before you did what you did, your numbers were not good at all. And now that you left, you've been years removed from the game. Doesn't guarantee your numbers are going to be any better than what they were when you left. That's how I see it. This is not being like, oh, I'm against him on his movement or I'm a support. No, this has nothing to do. This just has to do with him being a player.
My thing about Colin Kaepernick is that there's 32 starters in the league. I can guarantee you that out of 32, he would not be 32. That being said, how many times are we going to play this song and dance? It's like, okay, you got to try out, but you're at a different field. You got to try out by Jay-Z, but some shit happens. You got to try out, but the NFL is trying to screw you. It's like, how many times do we have to keep on coming back to this before we just say, hey, we're either going to let him play and he's going to, do what he has to do, or we're just not going to keep on bringing it up. I didn't think personally we were going to hear Colin's name at all during free agency this year, but somehow he put his name into the the pot. Me personally, I'm tired of it. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think it's really worth much conversation other than the fact that he's saying that he's working out and like people are kind of giving it notice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say on this whole thing, only because I mean, we've seen it happen before. I don't really know I'm not sure of what his true intentions may be, but all I will say when it comes to this situation is if he wants to play football and he's not able to play in the NFL, like Lau said, there's other places there's other leagues where you can play. But at the same time, I mean, at the same time, that's all I have. That's why I'll leave it at, as far as I'm concerned. I don't really have much to say other than if you do want to play and they won't let you play here, there's other places to play. But at the same time, I get having a fight, but this is, at this point, it's just kind of like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, whatever. I'll just say it like this: whatever happens, happens, and I'll just keep my eye open for it at this point.
There's a rumor that the Steelers might get Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was cleared of the cases that were brought against him while he was with the Houston Texans. I personally would like that to happen, but we'll have to see as to how that goes. Free agency, if I'm not mistaken, it either starts tomorrow or Tuesday. I guess the listeners, will be well into it by the time they hear this. So, well, wait.
Speaking of that, wasn't it like something with a woman, right?
Yeah, so pretty much there were 22 cases of sexual assault brought against Deshaun Watson. Now, what people suspect it to be is that the Texans were bringing this up against Deshaun because they were trying to halt his career. And like when you look into some of the details of the case, it does look a little iffy. But that's I don't know enough about the case to really give like a full-fledged opinion about it.
Okay. Well, no, I was just wondering. I was only a reason I asked because it made me think of this whole something I seen with Chris Brown. Apparently, where I guess there was an allegation made against him.
I saw that.
Yeah, there was an allegation made against him not too long ago, I'm guessing, and I guess he had put out text messages with the girl.
Right.
So that's what it made me think of. I guess he put out some text messages with the girl, and her lawyer dropped her after that. So, but yeah. So I mean, I think when it comes to the NFL overall, though, I mean, who knows? There probably will be some interesting things happening now that the season's ended, and now teams are trying to prepare themselves for the next year, especially knowing that there's no Brady to worry about anymore. So,
thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Man.
Imagine, you know how great you have to be to play for 20 years, and people are just like, man, I just can't wait for him to retire. For 20 years, different level.
Guys, so I just got some news, breaking news, and this kind of leads into our next topic. For those who are into wrestling and those who are not into wrestling, maybe you might know who this guy is. So the wrestler Scott Hall, he just had 3 heart attacks and he's currently on life support.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah. So,
Jesus.
all I want to say is definitely shouts out to Scott Hall. He's definitely a legend in the game. He's definitely iconic for his role in the role of pro wrestling, and him being on life support is crazy. He definitely has had a storied career with his battles, his personal battles, and plus his health and all that. And just of recently, like for the past few years, he's really made strides and progress and becoming much more healthier in his lifestyle, and it's just such a shame that he's dealing with a serious health issue. And hopefully Scott pulls through, man. Hopefully Scott, he can make it, because that's scary,
Yeah, no, that's super scary, man. That's super scary. I'm gonna have to listen to Fly Guy's Awesome Guy too now, man. That's scary. Like, especially like knowing as a kid we all watch wrestling, and knowing like this, he's one of those iconic figures. So, luckily, I don't want to speak about him as if he passed. So, right now, just prayers, and hopefully he's able to recover from this and they're able to pull him through, because it's a lot. And prayers to his family also, because I can only imagine what they're going through at the moment with this.
Yeah, this is a scary situation. And I mean, since we're on the topic of wrestling, another grim situation has occurred over the weekend, and we're definitely sending our prayers and wishes to this young brother. But the wrestler named Big E, he was at an event on Friday night. A guy did a suplex. He botched the suplex, and Big E landed on top of his neck, breaking his fucking neck, literally.
Yeah.
They stretchered him out. Now Big E has come out, and he's basically being very positive about the situation. And, fortunately for him, he doesn't need surgery, but he does have fractures in his neck. So obviously he's going to be out of the game for a while. So definitely we're hoping that he has a healthy recovery and he could come back to form. Or if it's decided that he can't wrestle because his injury prevents him from doing that, just want to say shouts out to him. What an unfortunate accident. For all like the diehard wrestling fans, this is, even though these are bad situations or a bad situation with Big E, I guarantee you they will use this as a defense saying, see, wrestling is not fake.
Come on.
Oh
man.
my gosh, that's horrible.
Terrible timing.
I mean, but listen, man, when I was a huge fan coming up, you couldn't tell me that it wasn't fake. And definitely watching someone like Mick Foley bleeding and getting cut all up and everything like that, it was hard to believe it wasn't fake. So I just don't use this as an example. Because this could have ended up even worse.
Yeah, it could have killed him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who was the wrestler?
Big E.
Not Big E. Back in the day, was it Owen Hart?
Oh yeah. Rest in peace, Owen. That shit was crazy.
Yeah. So like, there's moments where like we've had moments before where like we've lost wrestlers. So please, I just ask those wrestling fans, please don't try to use this as proof. Like, it was a freak accident that happened. But hopefully he recovers and he's able to. Hopefully he recovers back 100%.
Yeah,
and he's able to still keep his career because we've all seen it before in different sports where a freak accident like that might make you could be 100% healed, but you might be scared to do something because what if you're not so lucky next time? So hopefully he's able to have 100% recovery as well. So
I mean, like, this is why, when you watch professional wrestling, you have to appreciate, the wrestlers who are very good at what they do. Because, and this is no offense to the guy who, made the mistake and, while they were performing, but the good wrestlers, they have good technique in these things that usually happen less, So it's unfortunate when things go wrong in that type of setting because, people really get hurt. These are people doing very high octane, very aggressive movements on each other, slamming each other. And these people are big people. You know what I mean? And even for the wrestlers who aren't big people, they're usually being thrown by people who are big people. So accidents, injuries can happen, and they do happen a lot of the time, even when they're not doing the most dangerous of movements. So to me, I, definitely prayers to Big E. I hope his neck heals sooner than later. Likely he will not need surgery, but, it's very unfortunate that it happened to him in the first place.
Yeah. Shouts out to Big E. Shouts out to Scott Hall, and shouts out to professional wrestlers. Whether you like it or not, what they do is very taxing on their bodies.
Right.
100%. That's why we see it with some, and not necessarily, and that's why we see it with documentaries, for instance, where you see these wrestlers when they talk about their lives. They could be like 40, 50, they could be 50, 60 years old, but their body might be like, a doctor might say your body's the age of a 90-year-old man just because of all the damage you put on it. So just for our own entertainment. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's hopefully we're able to see him back in the ring. So.
Is there anything else that we have for the listeners?
Nothing other than the usual for me, man. Drink your water, wear your mask,
drink your sodas, drink your Henny, drink your lead,
eat your sugar.
Yes.
Like, make sure you get.
Eat your shrooms.
Oh wow! Oh,
yo, speaking of that, did you guys see that video on Twitter where the girl, like, I guess she was eating like a whole bag of shrooms or something like that? It was like some. Yeah. I saw something like that. Yeah, I saw something like that on the internet. I was like, yo, people are wild. But yeah, to each his own, man. To each his own.
Different strokes for different folks, man. Some people really get it in.
Yeah. Drink your water. Drink your water. In the words of Larry June, have your healthy smoothie. In the words of Dom Kennedy, make sure it's an orange and carrot smoothie. And just keep it like that, man. Yeah, just keep it like that. Also, if people have a chance, they should definitely, and this is like something I've been watching over the past week or so. There's an interview out with this guy from No Limit Cairo, who was, I guess, I always knew him as one of the affiliates or someone in the background with G Herbo. But it's very interesting. I suggest people watch it. It's an interview by 16 Shot 'em on YouTube. It's very interesting. It gives a very different take than what you expect as a fan, I would say.
Shouts out to G Herbo.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah,
it's like a controversial.
It's like, he was never outside. This, the same old typical. We were running together. He was never outside. He said he was.
I hate that shit, bro. People gotta let that mentality die. That's why they're broke, bro. That's why they're broke, bro. They gotta let that shit go, man.
Yeah, nah. Trust me, man. It's to me I'll put it like this: watching it makes me realize that nothing is new under the sun, man. Everything that happens, the same thing that we saw in the DVD era when rappers split up and they were asking like, whatever happened to you being in that group? I used to back them down, or I used to hold them down. There was nothing without me. Types of stuff. Like, he doesn't go to that extent, because the way he talks, it does sound like they're cool, but at the same time, it sounds like they're. I don't know. It just sounds very. It sounds
like he sneaked this out.
It's not sneak dissing. He said, "Yo," I asked him, "Yo, you No Limit?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm No Limit." He was like, "How? I've been outside every day. I've never seen you outside before." Like, so it's one of those weird things, but from a fan's perspective, but. I would suggest watch it, because you do hear a couple different points. But
yo, you know what we should do before I sign off of this motherfucker? One day we should all link up before we go out somewhere, watch some like old Smack DVDs, especially one with like Max B on there and shit.
That's bro, I think I might have that one, actually. The one with Max B, I think I might have that one.
He's just talking shit for like 30 minutes straight.
I look better. I smell better. I taste better. I'm a boss.
It's crazy, man. That era was crazy.
Yeah, it was hands down one of the best eras of all time. I'm not going to lie to you.
I agree with you. There's some people that we know that won't agree with you. And it's not Nigel.
Yeah, no. It's not me. Where can the listeners follow us at? Before
you can follow us at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, to the YouTube at the Highly Advised Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at the Highly Advised Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Advised Highly. Check us out on all streaming platforms where you listen to your podcast at the Highly Advised Podcast. If you don't, you're broke. And we kicking your ass. Shouts out to my guys, Relaxing, aka Heel Jackson, Saint.Kitch, aka Saint Picasso.
The only one.
And me, your mother effing tribal chief, the bad guy, the only guy, the one that will put these 4 knuckles to your mother effing eye. Let's go.
And with that being said, listeners, you have been highly advised.
See y'all later.